Ladies and gentlemen, there are people who visit Webit, and there are people who have grown together with Webit over the years. Our next moderator is a dear friend of the community and someone we are always delighted to welcome back to this stage. Through her journalism, curiosity, and ability to ask the questions that matter, she has helped countless audiences better understand the people and ideas shaping our future. It is once again our honor and pleasure to welcome Marina Tsekova from Nova TV. Joining Marina today is Peter Baltadjiev, Executive and CS Board Chair at Oracle, for a conversation about one of the biggest challenges facing every organization. How do we turn AI strategy into measurable business impact? How do we move from experimentation to execution? And how do we create real value from one of the biggest technology shifts of our generation? Warm welcome to Marina Tsekova and Peter Baltadjiev.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our fireside chat from AI hype to enterprise return of investment, turning AI strategy into business impact. We had already the opportunity with Peter to discuss a bit about the topic. It's a broad topic, a very interesting one, and he has a real insight into it. So I'm really eager to hear what you're about to tell to our audience. Let me introduce you, Peter Baltadjiev, Senior Executive at Oracle and serial investor who has been leading AI transformation initiatives across the organization. Welcome, Peter. I'm very glad that you're with us.
Thank you very much,
today.
and I'm glad to be back, because last year we talked about economy, and today we'll talk about the AI and what AI does to us today.
Yes, it will be a very interesting topic, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your insights. But tell me first, why do you think there is such a big gap between AI enthusiasm and real business impact?
Allow me first to start with a couple of things, well, a few things. AI is not a technology problem anymore, and AI also is a business solution, if I may say that. So AI should be a business operational system. Why this is important? Because we need to move away from being an AI experiment when we look at an organizational setup and move towards creating an AI framework that runs the business together with humans. Because it's not about AI and then let's delegate all to it. It needs to be a bit of a hybrid. But let's move on and discuss a little further these details. So I just wanted to point out those few elements.
Do you have an easy answer to the question, what is the difference between an AI experiment and an AI transformation initiative?
An AI experiment is what a lot of businesses are doing at the moment. And why they default to it? Because they look at it as a technology solution. And what they also do is they trying to prove a concept. So it's more of a POC as opposed to something that drives a business result. What that means otherwise is we would need to look at what the business outcome is and reverse engineer our processes, including AI, to achieve these outcomes, as opposed to run a POC and prove the existence and value of AI, because that's the biggest differentiator between companies that experiment and companies that transform.
Do you think that executives really understand the difference at this point in time?
Difficult question to answer, because it all depends on people. And then we come again to the topic. It is people that drive and AI that executes. So some leaders, some executives, and some industries are much more advanced and much more accelerated compared to others for a number of reasons. There's regulation, there's data, there's the data sanity, there's the way executives see the way business should be transformed. And we reach to the five necessary components on what is important for businesses to become AI native. And if we start with that, executive alignment. So from an enterprise perspective, when we have multiple executives running different parts of the business, they need to align on what the business objective is and what the business outcome is. So that's number one, important. Number two, the existence of good quality data. So when data is disparate in different sources, it's not integrated, then AI doesn't have the basis for it to start generating good results. But then we come down to the governance, because data is there, AI does its job, but at the same time, we need to govern this in a proper way. Why? Because we need to respond to the regulator based on the jurisdiction we operate in, but B, because we want to create safeguards in our own business operation, not to let AI run wild and do results that we don't anticipate. So it's all predictive. But then we move to the other element, which is humans. So onboarding that, making people excited and making people really bought into the idea of using AI is crucial. And then we reach to the point of change management, and that's the fifth component for AI ready to success companies. And this is, the fifth component is actually something that a lot of organizations underestimate. And they underestimate it for a number of reasons. They say, okay, well, here's the technology, we know where we're going, off you go. But then we need to, pure deployment of AI doesn't mean adoption. And that triggers then the conversation around what's the return on our investment.
This is actually my next question, because we are speaking about executives, and I guess that when you evaluate AI investment, what executives should think of are what would be the return. How do you think and where do you think they should expect returns after investing in AI?
Yeah. So if you look at return on investment from an economic perspective with AI in the picture, there's three components. It's productivity, efficiency gains, and to achieve excellence. And then the third component is growth and innovation. Most companies are operating on the basis of the first. So productivity gains, reduce time to run my marketing campaign, more efficient logistics when it comes down to transporting my goods and services to the end distributor, analyzing big volumes of data and returning the outcomes and the results. So these are all good, but then we need to ensure that we move to the next level, which is operational, which is the excellence, which is the efficiency gains. So we've done the legwork, but then what's the outcome of it? And then once we move towards that, we tick that box in, and then we'll move towards innovation. How do we improve our products? Think about new products in our portfolio. How do we attract more consumers? How do we attract more demographics within our offering? So all these things are more related to where do we want to go next. So if you look at past, present, future, so number one is present, so past/present, and then future towards excellence.
You spoke about enthusiasm and about excitement while working with AI, but what are really the characteristics of companies that are successfully scaling AI? Because I guess this excitement is not present everywhere.
Yeah, so a company that scales is a company that invests in a hybrid model. They would invest in technology, and the technology would be AI powered, but they would also invest into their personnel, into their people, because people would need to work hand in hand with the technology. And if you look at AI, let's just hypothetically consider it as our best assistant. So if we previously had to analyze a lot of data through Excel, run some modeling, and achieve some great results, and then propose them, and then those results need to be then onboarded through our systems, and then obviously we need to then monitor those ones and then achieve efficiency gains that way. Today, what we can do is tell AI, not how do I achieve 20% excellence into or better efficiency into my operational workload, but how do I change the way I do the same thing as if AI didn't exist and now I plug AI in. So almost like a reverse engineering of the whole process. And then that becomes the basis of this hybrid model where AI does the legwork, we as humans decide, and then we close the loop and cycle that way. And this is the way forward, really, because we don't need to be afraid of AI. AI is not something that will substitute us. It's not the Terminator 1 or 2 kind of a scenario here. It's more, how do we... It's a new tool set. And if you look at it as such, and if you plug this tool set into the business outcome as opposed to just use it because we have to, because our company tells us, then that's how we'll achieve the desired results.
Okay, so then let's look closely at the execution. When AI moves from demo to deployment, what are the lessons that actually companies learn?
I can name 3 lessons because we have 5 minutes. So
Go ahead.
So it's create a scope that will allow you to scale fast. Because if we start doing this across everything we do, then it's highly likely that we'll have too many balls to juggle, and then we won't get to where we want. Adopting the hybrid model, and the third element to it is invest from an executive perspective. Invest not only in technology but also into people and change management, because AI wouldn't, or any technology for that matter, wouldn't have any value beyond proving that it works, proving the concept, and proving that there's a productivity gains there, unless people bought into it. So adoption doesn't necessarily mean well, actually, I'll reverse this. Deployment doesn't necessarily mean adoption. Mm-hmm. So invest in human.
Okay, but if we look ahead in 3 or 5 years' time, what do you think will be the difference between the leaders and the followers in the AI economy, or it's too early to look ahead?
No, it's not too early. So if you ask me also of whether there's companies that will not use AI, there will be companies that won't use AI. Will that mean that they'll cease to exist? Probably not. But companies that will be successful and will be the best in their field will be certainly companies that are actually using AI. And these will be companies that are more AI, that will move towards being AI native. Companies that would need to think, again, I mentioned this earlier, they would need to think of what's the business outcome rather than how do I deploy this, and how to incorporate the hybrid model of human and AI, and also continuous learning, not only about learning and teaching the models, but also people, onboarding people, educating them, because this is a very rapidly accelerated process that is actually happening now, and then we need to be up our game to be successful. So not all companies in the future will be AI companies, but certainly the ones that are successful will be AI native companies.
But tell me, I guess that everyone here in this room knows what AI is or uses it on a daily basis, but still, for those among us who are still precautious when it comes to AI, what is the one piece of advice that you would give them to become AI leaders and not AI followers?
Well, that would depend on what function they execute. So from an executive perspective, just be aligned and think of AI as an operational system rather than as an isolated silo of activities. If I am somebody that is running an operational workloads, I'll think of AI as my personal assistant that does the legwork for me, and then I do the strategy element. If I am an HR person, I would think of AI in terms of how I can more successfully onboard my personnel and get them really excited about using it. If I am a salesperson, I would think of the worst, the best, and in the middle scenarios of my sales strategy so that I figure out, okay, well, how do I structure this so that I'm successful? So there's no one answer fits all, but it's all, what is the golden rule? What is it that I want to achieve? And then work backwards or reverse engineer it from the tool set that I need, which is AI.
I have quite a lot of questions, but because we have 44 seconds left, which is a long time in TV setting, so I would like to take one question from the audience. Is there someone who would like to ask Peter Baltadjiev something? Be brave, come on. Yes, there is a question over there. Go ahead.
Hi. What measures are you taking for the technical debt in your company? Do you have some answer on that?
Yeah, so I will tell you, not from a perspective of the company I represent, but from a perspective of the companies that I deal with, which are companies that are in the financial sector. So what they do is, do we have 2 seconds?
Yeah.
What they usually do is, what they're trying to gravitate away from is having a very fragmented ecosystem with multiple providers, and then trying to consolidate that into one pool. Not necessarily through one product, but into one pool through integration. And probably we need to, I'm conscious of time, probably we can grab some time to talk about this further, if you'd like, so that I can tell you a little bit more about what companies in the financial sector certainly do.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. The good news here is that actually this is not our last meeting, because we are meeting again at this very same stage at 4:30. So in case there are questions left, you can keep them for later. Thank you very much for this insightful information. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.